Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Marion Dampier-Jeans International YouTube channel. This is going to be in English, and you know us already, and I will gladly invite, or we have invited, Charlotte Kehler to this talk with Marion today. Welcome, Bo, my friend. Are you okay?
Yes, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. So, Marion, now is your time with Charlotte, and very welcome, everybody.
Thank you, and a welcome from me to both Bob and, of course, as I always call him, instead of calling him Bo, I call him Bob, just for fun, and for Anette. Lovely to be here again. And today I would like to interview, which is a funny word, because that Charlotte Kehler for me interviewed me for my books. So today it is totally opposite. I am gonna literally in and interview Lotte about writing my books, and also maybe she will explain how difficult they can be and how she has written the books and the inspiration she has got by writing books, especially about spiritualism, spirit, things that we cannot explain, or can we explain? The word is yes, we can. So through these books with Lotte, what I loved about this were that Lotte, she went out with me and traveled also with her husband in her little yellow car. And she went around to see how I was working, how it was that I could communicate. On one stage, she had a sitting herself. Paul has also had part of a sitting. So what I'm trying to say is here, for somebody like Lotte, who has written my books, for me, it is so important that if you write books, it's to actually know the person very well that you're writing about. And Lotte did that perfectly. So through some of all those things, we had fantastic experiences. We saw and felt many things. There was always something, oh, this is strange, or God, what happens there? And we ended up, of course, going on television where Paul, which is Charlotte's husband, did a lot of the recording, and I felt really, really safe in his hands, because there is this kind of things when you write or you do televisions, you need to be safe to be able to do the work really well. I'm sure that that is with everybody. If you are a painter or you are a writer or whatever it is you do in life, it's great to be safe. So this is where the interview, I would like to sort of talk to Lotte about our days together and some of the most hilarious things that we were up to, because everything was not just very spiritual. There was also many other things that was really extraordinary funny. Am I right, Lotte?
Yes, you are so right.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we will sort of let you into what we call our world, really, which is a fantastic world at the time. And I was very, very happy and thankful that you wrote my books, because that one thing you've got to know a lot about writing my books, and what people have said over and over and over again. And I can only say to other people who wants to write, and that is, the books you wrote were simple, in a simple language, that a child could understand it and read it, but an adult could also read it. So it was an overall book with not large words, but easy word, easy writing, and funny in the same time. Because that I think that when people start to write about any form of religion, any form of way of life, it's got to be serious, it's got to be like this, but that has never been my work. So that is what everybody have said. And funnily enough, our first book, My Life with Spirit, are still selling in Denmark.
Oh, yeah.
And I still hear people coming back. It was so easy to read. I read it on my journey on the train or in the bus or all sort of things like that. And I just think that's really funny. And one of those very funny stories, Lodge, before we start, is with a priest in Denmark, in which I today know, Tom. He was actually on the bus and he sat on something. What the heck am I sitting on? And he got this up and he saw my book. And he went, what? Like this. And he managed to read the book and became intrigued as a priest upon the word. So there's always ways, I think, that people gets my book if you sit on it, or the first book you find in an old shop, or somebody gives it to you, or you have bought it from you. It has been fantastic to bring so many people in from the Nordic countries, because we got to remember our books actually has been translated into various different languages. And that has again given, you know, a lot of people an insight to write books. So I just want to welcome you with that, Claudia, and sort of said it has been a pleasure to work with you. And I will perhaps not find somebody who can write like the way that you did.
Thank you, Marion.
So there you go. Lovely time, isn't it?
It is.
So shall we start with sort of why did you want to write my books, and what did you see within the books that you wanted to write? You know, just talk, Lotte.
Yes, okay. Well, first of all, Paul did some television with you, and you came to visit us in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said, oh, there's a woman coming. She can talk with spirits and she can read my mind. And I was very scared when you came. But you looked at me and you said, will you write my book? And I looked at you and I said, yes, I would love to write your book. And then it all started that way. So, and that was the first book. And the book, it came out in 2001. So this October, it will be 20 years ago. And we have something to celebrate. And as you say, the book is still selling a lot. I must say it has been a great bestseller. Yes, what else can I say? I had a lovely time writing it. And it was like I was a student. Because as you said, I went out with you, I saw your demonstration, I saw you giving sittings, I heard you make talks, and we went around the country, and I got to know you very deeply. And I wrote the book just as you are. And I think that's what people love about the book, or the books. They can hear you talk when they read the books. And I think that's what makes it, yeah, a bestseller, I must say. So we had a luck making these books.
Yeah, and I also think, you know, Lotte, you didn't twist my language the way
No.
that because I was speaking the way that I write, which sometimes in Denmark did turn around and says, well, what's wrong with her Danish? Or you might say, what's wrong with her English? But that's because of my dyslexia. But
Yeah.
you came out
Yeah.
the way I actually tried to explain things. And I think that is what has given the book the character, that you have not altered me as a person. You
Exactly.
have literally written of who I was and what you saw.
When
And
when I wrote the books, I could hear your voice in my head. And I just, oh, this is Marion. And that, I think that's what happened. I could really feel you and hear you when I was writing the books. And I think it succeeded very well. So well, and also had a very good time, and I had a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, the good vibration when I was writing, it was fun writing those books. So
Yeah.
that's it.
And it was also a time, Lotte, if you've got to remember that if you go back to 20 years,
Yeah.
spiritualism is old in Denmark.
Yes.
We have had various different centers around, and we had many mediums, and there has been other people in Denmark before our time that has written books in an old-fashioned way.
Yes.
We sort of sent this trend, if you like, to actually, after the first television program, sort of going back again 20, 21 years, where people became interesting again with work. It's opened up in the whole of the Nordic countries.
Indeed.
And I always laughed, something I had laughed about for years and years and years, and that was when I did my first thing. It was, you know, about haunted houses on somewhere along there. And in Denmark, there was no haunted houses, but the television program, that's 95% of all houses was bleeding haunted, which I thought was very fun. So that was a trend that was it. We kept on going. But we also had I remember, because I've still got the tape here, because you came to England, as much as I was in Denmark, you also came to England to write. You sat in the living room, and
Yes.
what I loved about it, you had this tape recorder there.
Yeah.
Just sitting there and just talking into the tape recorder on my life and the many things and about my family and what's happened and things like that. And there was one time, Lotte, when I was sitting here, and I was just about to tell you, or I have just told you, that I was in Greenland.
Yes, I was thinking about that story too. Yeah.
I was in Greenland.
Yeah.
And I was telling you about walking on some ice, and
Yes.
it's very dangerous and things like that. And I could have fallen into a sort of a harbor situation where I were.
Yeah.
But what I actually heard was this screech of a blackbird that actually shouted at me, "Be careful, be careful, danger, danger." And I stopped my track and realized that if I had taken one more step, I could have entered into the harbor. The interesting part on that story were that you went to the toilet. You had to go upstairs.
I did, yes.
And I just sat in the living room. The tape recorder was there. I just went around. You came down, we sat and we carried on. But when you actually went home to listen to it,
I had birds chirping. Yes.
The bird was screeching in the background.
It was.
We were both sitting, oh my God. We had something called EVP, electronic voice phenomena, of the birds. Also in the sense of it, that spirit at that time would like to tell you, yes, we're here. Yes, we're listening in. This is what happened.
Yes.
So many of those stories.
It was so funny. It happened a lot of times. When I came back from London with my tapes and I listened to the tapes, I had voices, women's voices, a lot of voices on the tapes. I got used to the voices on the tapes, electronic voice phenomena. But this time I heard a bird chirping and screeching. So you don't only talk to people, but dead people, you talk to animals too. Right, Marion?
Yeah. It is very interesting, isn't it?
It is.
You know, that you as not quite maybe understanding spiritualism, and yet again, you have all these things happening to you.
I had all these things happening to me, yes.
And I also feel that it is a way at that time, Lotte, that spirit wanted to give you something extra, to actually believe in what was going on. You understand it, not for me to tell you what is going on, but in a sense of it, they wanted to give you your own evidence upon life and death, if you like.
I think so too, yeah. And when you were in my living room and you were sleeping on a mattress on the floor in my tiny apartment, and before a demonstration, you were writing, the spirits were coming, like, I don't know what, and you were writing, you're working so hard with the spirits. And also at night, during night, and I had 2 rescue birds flying around the apartment, my tiny apartment, and Marion on the floor talking to spirits. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I loved all the time there. Yeah.
I also remember on that specific time staying on your floor. Lovely apartment, by the way. Loved it there. It was very, very, very calm period. But I remember lying on the floor, and we were due to go into a television studio.
Yes.
We was asked, "Do you like to do an interview with me?"
Yeah.
Actually given what the interview just about my work.
Yes.
And I remember being disturbed in the middle of the night by a finger up. You do not go to that studio.
Yeah.
And when I woke up in the morning, and we were sort of ready to go to the studio, and I had to say, I have to tell you something, darling. And I have been denied by spirit to actually go to the studio to do any form of recording or anything. And you then had to phone up and cancel it.
I remember that very clearly. And the guy on the phone, he was very stuck up, and he was, he was a famous TV producer, and he was very angry that you didn't want to participate. But then I said, oh no. And then he had to admit to me that they were trying to trick you. They were trying. So you were always right about things like that.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was very interesting from the point of Spirit to actually warning you.
Yes,
Not
yes,
in that situation.
yes,
We know what's going on. I do know that a lot of people wants to be on television. Do want
yes,
to do this
yes,
and that, but it has always with me been these small warnings not to do it.
yeah,
Keep away from it. This kind of thing. And with that interview, there were,
yeah,
and glad I didn't. At that time. So as I said,
yes,
people could have fallen in that trap. And I think that's what makes things very, very good between us, because that it was a trust between what we were doing. You believed in what was said that
yes,
evening, and you
yes.
phoned up, and then your head went.
Exactly,
Off
exactly.
the head,
Yeah,
off the head. So yes, we did travel and we did see and we did do.
yeah,
And as I said, we did many, many, many things. And many, I think, stories come out. I always remember you and Paul. It is like my Danish English gets in the way.
yes,
All my words get mixed up. And
yes,
often I was standing there quite innocently talking about things. And all
yes.
I could see in a congregation of people was Lotte and Paul going,
Stop, Marion, you're saying an awful words. Yeah.
and he was just standing in the background. I said, have you got a bad throat? What's wrong with you? I still didn't get it in. But also later on, when asked in Spirit, why did you let me say this? And she says, well, Marion is your character, but they've raised the vibration for everybody to have such a laughter. And with that extraordinary laughter, we could get further with people, because we did have people who was skeptical. I used to take things up with them and so forth. And of course, that helped us also in a sense of it, Lotte, to write the book, to take the
Yes,
book
it did.
forward, to see people's point of view. As you said, Christ, you had loads of emails, and you can tell
Yes.
the story because at the time
I've never been so busy in my life in that period, Marion. Yeah. So
yeah, so it's interesting, but people managed to get to where they wanted with their questions, and God, I think I was sitting there all day long just trying to answer things and things like that. And it was a time where I think that suddenly Denmark, we can talk about, we suddenly had loads of mediums, and we suddenly had many writers and things like that. But there's really nobody who has reached the standard of the books in which we have written or, cooperated with, because the sales of the book was extraordinary.
yes,
And
and we went to Norway, and we went to Iceland when the book was published, and it was very interesting as well. So we had a lot of success with the books.
absolutely.
But we traveled a lot, Marion, around Denmark and Scandinavia, and in my little yellow car. So
and we had independent voices in there too. Spirit just left us out of things. We had even things in the car.
yeah. And I remember we went, I don't know, out in the middle of nowhere. We were driving for a very long time. It was a small library, because you would like to go to small places as well as big places. You were not a snob. You were everywhere in Denmark. So we went to this small library in the middle of nowhere, and it was winter time, and it was dark, and I don't know how we got there, because it was before the Google map time. So I don't know how we got there, but we got there in time, and it was pitch dark, and it was a small library, but it was the best demonstration ever. Do you remember that?
I remember that one.
Oh my God, people, they were like because I remember, I could see a tombstone, you said, and there were some lines on the tombstone, and you read them out, and the man he was like, yes, she's absolutely right, it's my father's tombstone. It was amazing. So you were, I don't know, it was just a fantastic night. I will never forget it.
Yeah.
But that's how it was around the country and around Scandinavia. We did a lot of work. Yeah.
And I think people forget to think, because we come back again to this kind of want to be big, want to be large, want to be television. But I have always loved small places.
Yes.
I love the way that you can reach people.
Yeah.
It's always been me. I'm I'm a woman's person, a person's woman, or whatever you want to call me. I just like people. I get lost sometimes because in some of my demonstration, we have up to 300 people,
Yeah.
enormous demonstration. And I just don't feel as good as when I am in a small place and can actually talk to people and see people all around. And even in the fact, Lotte, that we have to drive, not knowing where we were going.
Yeah.
It is almost like it is, you know, it is put across by Spirit and sort of saying, can you find it? We will help.
Yes.
You know, it's like, it's not a test, but what it is almost like, you know, let us see what we can do. Let us see, is a willingness enough to be there, to actually do that demonstration, you know,
Yeah.
can we get there?
Ah,
It's like, yes, we can, we got there, now we will give.
yeah.
I learned a lot about that in my time, I have to say.
It makes sense.
You
Yeah.
know, makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
You know, there
does.
have been times, even in London, in the many spiritualist churches I have gone to, and what we do, which we don't do that in Denmark often, but you will have like a medium suddenly ill.
Yes.
And then what will happen is that maybe the medium will phone up and sort of say, oh, Marion, I've got the flu and I am due in a spiritualist church. I can't be there. Can you do it, dear, for me? And I will go, yes, Florence, of course I can. I will be there on Sunday, but do me a favor. I said, would you let the president of the church know? And I will actually get to the place.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And often those demonstrations, because I left my home, I served Spirit and helped another medium, has been some of the most extraordinary, I can say, demonstration, including on one stage where I was on the platform in London, in a South London church, you wrote about it, where a prostitute came through and was telling the whole congregation that she had died and she jumped out of a train and God knows what else, and this woman was just sitting. Oh, well, does everybody know I have prostitution friends and things like that? And suddenly my chairperson, who was an old man at the time, he was just sitting there fast asleep because he couldn't believe, this young woman at the time, was actually a medium, because the prejudice in England was quite hard with me. And there was a huge big palm tree on the piano, suddenly took off in the air.
Yes, I remember that.
Landed back down on the bloody piano again. And the president walked up and said, have I missed anything?
Yes, I remember.
The congregation was running out through the door because they saw a phenomenon for the first time ever in their life. And that is what Spirit seems to have done with me many a times.
Yeah.
We have sort of gone in, if you like, you have done this for us, we will now help you. And literally, we have funny stories like that in England also. So it isn't how big you can be. It is actually, are you serving Spirit or what?
Yes,
I think that's it, Lotte.
that's it. And that's wisdom. Yeah,
that's very much indeed. And
it
I think
is.
perhaps also go, because I also know you are an artist and you paint.